The Talos Principle is, without a question, the greatest puzzle game that I have ever played. Probably one of the best video games that I've ever played in my life. In general, I don't really. I wish I had I had really sat down and thought of this is my top 10 list of best games of all time, and the Talos Principle is number blah blah. You know, I haven't really thought about that. I wish I had a top 10, but let's say, hypothetically speaking, I did have a top 10. I'm pretty confident in saying that the Talos Principle would be somewhere on that list. And I really want to talk about it. I really want to get this off my chest. I really just want to talk to you guys about this game and why I love it, while simultaneously trying not to spoil things, which is going to be really hard for me. Because I really want as many people to check out this game as possible. I got such an incredible experience out of it, and I want you to... This is a special game. This is a type of video game that doesn't come along that often. And it's really worth checking out. So what ultimately is this game about? What is the Talos Principle essentially about? What is, in general? Without spoilers, of course. The Talos Principle is a science fiction puzzle game that's essentially about humanity's strive to seek purpose and find meaning in our existence, and the various modes of philosophical and scientific thought, and the various stories and mythologies that have been used to, help in ascertaining that meaning. It's about just that major component of the human experience. And I know what it's. Some of you might be thinking, that sounds like this is gonna be pretentious as fuck. Like a video game is gonna talk about shit like this. This sounds really pretentious. This sounds like it's... I don't know what it sounds like. I really do. And I kind of had the same kind of fear going in. I'm like, oh shit, a puzzle game is gonna touch on these types of issues. And what I didn't expect was how brilliantly that these concepts were introduced, how brilliantly these concepts were integrated into the story and delivered to the audience. I wasn't, this was, at no point did I feel any sense of pretentiousness. At no point did I feel like the game was pandering to a particular ideology. At no point did I feel like I was being talked down to. There's a good deal of ambiguity through which the information is introduced, because very rarely is any expository dialogue explicitly stated. It respects your intelligence as the person playing to kind of piece things together yourself, in a way that the stories, I guess, is as much of a puzzle as the actual puzzles are, if I'm putting it in a kind of a corny way. Kind of realized that was sort of a corny comparison, but I liked it when I first thought of it. So when I first thought of that connection, I'm like, hey, that's a smart thing, but also kind of corny. I'll be self-aware about it afterwards, though, so I'll sound smarter than I am. But those are generally the types of issues that it discusses, and it's so well about it's so good about integrating these ideas into the story. And one thing this game does that I think is so great is that it also, the themes themselves tie directly into the game itself. The game component and the story component aren't separate entities. They both complement each other beautifully, because the things you do in the game, your objective in the game, the very things you're trying to achieve in the game, in a way, the game itself is kind of a metaphor for the idea that it's trying to get across, for the overall message it's trying to deliver. And fuck, that's so fucking awesome. It really is. It's so good. And there are games. It's not like this is the only game that attempts to do that. I'm aware of that, but it's one of the few games that does it so fucking well, that actually ties the narrative and game component together so brilliantly, and it's wonderful. So let me give a brief synopsis of the story of the game, just to give you an idea of just what you're going to expect walking in. Basically, you wake up in what very immediately becomes apparent is some kind of virtual world, essentially. This isn't really much of a spoiler, this is pretty obvious within the first few seconds of actually playing. You'll notice little you'll notice like little objects in the environment will kind of like, you'll hear like a bzzzt and it'll flicker a little bit. So it's pretty obvious just going in without knowing anything else that you're in some kind of virtual world, and you appear to be playing as some kind of robot. And there's a lot of ambiguity about your situation. You don't know exactly who why am I here? Why am I in this virtual world? What's going on? And the very first thing you hear upon being thrown into this world is you hear this voice, this booming, powerful voice, basically telling you to collect these various objects called sigils. And this booming, powerful voice is basically a character named Elohim, which is another word for God. The Elohim essentially exhibits all of the characteristics of the God of the Bible, essentially. And Elohim is a program that was created to keep the program running, to keep this virtual world running the way it does. And you'll learn a lot more about him as the game goes on and what his ultimate goal essentially is. And strewn throughout this world, in addition to just the puzzles themselves, oh, I forgot to mention, you basically solve puzzles to collect the sigils. I guess you could have pieced that one together yourself, but so you basically collect these sigils by solving a bunch of puzzles as Elohim commands you to do, and in the end, he rewards you with eternal life. Now, you end up kind of figuring out what he means by eternal life over the course of playing. And strewn throughout this world are all of these terminals that contain all this information that basically give you a lot more of an insight into what this place is, what's going on. These terminals can contain basically these terminals contain information that come from some sort of archive, and this archive contains things like, excerpts from pieces of mythology that deal with the themes that this game is trying to talk about. Or it contains little bits of history about certain philosophers or scientists or basically anybody who's contributed, who's basically relevant to anyone who's ever offered ideas that are relevant to the discussion that the game is trying to further. And also, sometimes it's just emails from members of the team basically the team of scientists responsible for developing this virtual world. And with every terminal you read, you get little bits and pieces of information about this, about what this virtual world is all about and what's going on. And this is where one of the most interesting characters comes in. There is a program, aside from just Elohim, there's a program responsible for essentially sorting and organizing the archive. And this character is known as the Serpent. And the Serpent is one of the most interesting characters from the game. I would safely say that my interactions with the Serpent character that's to me is where I think some of the most profound moments I had with this game, and also some of the funniest moments, by the way. The Serpent is a funny as fuck character. I just want to put that out there. I think there's some, in case you were worried, like, oh, this game sounds like it's all serious philosophical stuff. Like, no, there's some moments of levity in there. It's a really well delivered, well told story. So even though it deals with serious themes, there are, the Serpent is such a he's such a nihilistic douchebag. He really is. But my interactions with this character, easily the most interesting character in the whole game, are very, very interesting, and your goal is essentially to figure out what the fuck is going on. Why is this happening? Is there a point to this simulation? Why was the simulation even created? Is there even a point? There may very well may not be. And I can't say anymore. And I want to say more. I so desperately want to say more about this game. I want to talk about the themes of the game. I want to fucking talk about some of the interactions I had with the Serpent and why I thought why I found those moments so profound, and the overall message of the game, and discuss it. And I want to talk specifically why I think this game is so brilliant, why I think the game component itself so wonderfully complements the story, and how it, why is it such a successful, why is the game itself such a successful metaphor for the message it's trying to get across. And I want to so badly, I seriously do. But I can't, because I want you to experience this game like I did. I want you to walk into this game with little to no context as to what's going on in the world and figure it out yourself by reading the terminals, by exploring the world, by having those interactions with the Serpent, by learning more and more on your own, so you can have the incredible experience I did. So as much as I'd love to talk about this game, I can't really say any more without giving anything away, and I don't want to fucking ruin it for you guys. But I can say this. Since I can't really talk about the specifics of the story, what I can do, and I can't necessarily talk about the ideas themselves, what I can tell you at least is how this game made me feel. I can at least talk about this. And, you know, and this is a little bit of a personal aside, it's not really easy to get me that worked up about that. I mean, I make jokes on Topper Pals, I act like I exaggerate my emotions and shit for fun, or in my entertainment and stuff, I obviously try to put on more energy when I'm acting than when I'm, you know. So it takes a lot of things to excite me, and these days, I mean, I'm fucking 23 years old at this point, and it's so hard for, you know, it's so hard for me to get invested in a fictional world. You know, like back when I was younger, I could wander around, you know, the environment of Fallout 3 for hours, you know, with no goal or purpose, I just want to do this. But, you know, these days, I'm always like thinking, if I'm trying to work on something like that, I'm thinking like, ah, shit, you know what, fuck, I should be doing something else right now, I shouldn't waste my time with this. So it's really hard for me to get invested in a gaming world, so I can safely say that I have never been more invested in a video game universe than I was in this one. You know, like, it's been so long since the game got me that excited. Like, I actually finished this game for the first time at 5 a.m. in the morning. Why? Because I couldn't fucking sleep. I tried to, I'm gonna put the game down, I'm gonna come back to it the next day. I couldn't fucking stop playing the game, I had to fucking see this through to the end. Cause, you know, this game, I was so invested in trying to figure out this game, like every time I played, I would, you know, read more terminals, have more interactions with the serpent, learn more about what Elohim meant when he said eternal life, just get more of an insight. And with all that new information, I was up at night thinking about this. I was up thinking about, you know, what the fuck is this all about? What is it leading to? Is it leading to anything at all? Is that the point? Am I stupid for thinking there is a point? What the fuck am I? And that's awesome. And that's so fucking wonderful that a fucking piece of, you know, the wonderful work of art that this game is fucking did that to me, that it affected me so strongly, that I was fucking awake at night thinking about it. A game hasn't done that to me in such a long time, and the fact that this game gripped me that much got me that excited. Like, when I did read the terminals in the game, it wasn't because I felt like I had to fucking read the terminals. It's like I had to read the terminals because I wanted to. I wanted to learn more about this virtual world. I wanted to keep exploring. And it's just so... I can't tell you any of the specifics without spoiling it for you, and I feel like that would ruin the experience. But I can at least tell you that. Of course, all of this shit about the story would be totally, you know, it'd be totally pointless if the game sucked a bunch of dicks. So... as much as I praise the story, and as much as I praise how brilliantly it actually discusses the themes that it does, how actually good it is at presenting these concepts and ideas to the player, better than I've seen any video game do, you know. As a puzzle game, yeah, the mechanics are solid. I do feel it's worth mentioning. I don't play a lot of puzzle games. I'm not a big puzzle, you know, I'm not the strongest in the spatial reasoning category, so when it comes to puzzle games, I tend to, usually I kind of avoid them because I tend to feel like an idiot sometimes when I play them. So I don't have a lot of experience playing other puzzle games to compare this one to. I mean, I am a fan of Portal. I mean, before this game came out, I probably would have said that Portal was my favorite puzzle game of all time. So I can't really compare it to, a lot of other puzzle games and say, but as far as mechanics go, I thought it was a solid fucking puzzle game. I can't think of any major complaints. One interesting thing about the puzzles in this game is that one thing they do that not all puzzle games do is they actually do this thing where they throw a few extra puzzle pieces in there just to fuck with you. Sometimes a puzzle game will basically give you all the necessary pieces you need to solve the puzzle, and then you just figure out how to put them together. What this game does is this game really forces you to, you gotta fucking stay focused, motherfucker. They will throw, they'll basically, here's a couple of extra puzzle pieces, and if you try to solve the puzzle using those extra pieces, the puzzle's totally unsolvable. You can't do it. So you kinda actually have to stay actively engaged and discern, okay, shit, I can't just haphazardly throw shit together, and, you know, I have to actually think about, you know, where these pieces go. I have to try to figure out when this game is trying to trick me or when it isn't. And I actually remember the first puzzle I did where they did that to me, where they threw in those extra puzzle pieces just to fuck with you, and I remember, like, I fucking went into this, like, existential crisis where, like, my sense of, like, I was totally, like, lost confidence in my ability to solve, but I felt like a moron. I'm like, I can't do it. Like, I was running around, like, with the fucking, like, I was stuck in this logical loop, and I couldn't, like, I'm like, but wait, if I put this here, then but then that door closes, so then the laser can't get through there, but if I put this here, then that opens, but then I don't have the thing there, so I have to fuck, like, and I was, like, freaking out, and it was, and then I was, like, spiraling into, like, a depression, like, a fucking depression. I was like, I'm an idiot, I can't fucking, and then I realized, like, wait, and then I ended up actually leaving the area, and then I came back later, and then I realized, like, and then I noticed that apparently, like, each individual puzzle area has its own little title. And I came back in, and it's like the title appeared, Deception. And then I'm like, wait. And then I was like, hold on, what do they mean? But wait, how did they deceive me? What did they... Oh, you clever sons of bitches. Like, it was... And it wasn't even like I was angry at that point, despite what this put me through. I was just kind of like, oh, you son of a bitch. You clever bastards, you. That was cool. Another element of the gameplay worth discussing are also the stars. In addition to the sigils that you collect by solving the puzzles in the world, there's also these stars that are hidden throughout the world, and they open up. If you collect enough of these, you can open up some secret areas. And some people might consider this a spoiler. I don't really think it is. I'm just saying this to, you know, just so you avoid a lot of, you know, unnecessary effort and anxiety. But the stars in the game are such a bitch to get. And if you're like me and you're worried that that you need to collect all the stars because, like, it might factor into the ending in some meaningful way or something like that, don't worry. I mean, in a sense it does kind of, but it's, if you're worried like, oh shit, if I don't collect all the stars I'm gonna get the bad ending, no, don't worry about that. You can finish the game first, and if you really want to do this, you know, don't do the star missions unless you really want to do the star missions, unless you really want to get the stars. It's a great thing to do. It's a great thing to do if you're looking for some replayability, if you want to come back later after you've beaten the game once. You know, because you do get something out of collecting all the stars, but if you're worried, like, oh shit, it's gonna, like, am I gonna get, like, a shit ending if I don't? No, don't worry about it. Because I did. I was like, oh shit, do I need to get all the stars? I'm like, no, because trust me, dude, the stars are a bitch to fucking get. But I do like the star missions, and I'm bringing this up because, you know, in some puzzle games, some people kind of, like, feel smart because you can figure out how to, like, cheat the system, right? Like, sometimes in puzzle games you can, like, glitch the games and, like, do stuff you feel you're not supposed to do. This game anticipates that you're going to do that and actually builds certain challenges around the concept that you're gonna try to cheat it. Like, it's interesting because, like, you actually have to figure out how to... I love the star missions too, because it actually does encourage you to really think outside the box, not just to think within the parameters of, like, that particular puzzle, but, like, because some of the star missions require you to, like, smuggle certain items from one puzzle area and bring them into another, and typically you're not supposed to... It's set up like you're not supposed to do that. Like, if you try to take like, a box out of an area, you know, there's, like, a little wall that's like, no items beyond this point, but you can actually get around that if you're creative. And the game totally, like... And I love that. I like that the game builds missions around you cheating the game. I like that the developers actually, like, you know, anticipated that and then built game mechanics around that. So that's really cool. It really does... It's hard, though. It's such a bitch to fucking do the star mission. So again, don't waste your time unless you really, really want to do it. Or if you finish the game once and you want to come back later and do the star missions again. But anyways, I guess that's all I have to really say about the game. I really do think this game is fucking brilliant. I mean, obviously, if it were just the puzzle mechanics alone, I would love this game. I would be like, this, you know, this is a great puzzle game. But, of course, the story and how expertly it fucking handles the themes that it brings up, how brilliantly the themes, like the game and the story itself actually cohesively tie together. you know, I really do think it's a beautiful fucking work of art, and it's really a fucking step up from what you expect from storytelling in video games, from narrative quality, from, you know, because you don't expect a video game of all things to deal with these types of topics so well and so maturely, and it does, and I have to give it the credit it fucking deserves. So I guess, you know, in closing, if I were to, you know, I guess if, you know, I know the fucking developers aren't gonna see this. The developers aren't gonna fucking see this stupid fucking video. That, you know, some random asshole on some nobody fucking nothing tiny ass gameplay channel. But you know, in the very infinitesimal fucking chance that some of the developers do see this, I do want to say to, you know, to everybody involved in that team, not just one person, not just the writers, not just the developers, not just the people doing the soundtrack, basically everybody responsible for bringing that whole experience together. You know, I want you guys to know, like, you know, hopefully, I hope you motherfuckers can really sleep well at night, because your game had had an incredibly profound impact on at least one motherfucker. That motherfucker being me, of course. You know, because this game did more than most video games do, because sometimes I can appreciate, like, a good story in a video game, but this game did more than just give me a quality narrative. It actually made me realize things about myself, you know, like, and I don't always get that out of a game. So to basically everybody involved with the development of this game, you did an incredible job bringing this all together, and you should be fucking proud of yourselves that you've created a truly brilliant piece of art. And I guess that's all I can say. Please check out this game if you have the opportunity. The Talos principle is brilliant. I'm reluctant to call it a thinking man's game. I really am, because I know that runs the risk of sounding pretentious, like, oh, this is a thinking man's game, but I know what that sounds like. But if, like, any game is worthy of that designation, it's definitely the Talos principle. So please, if you have the opportunity to check out the Talos principle, please do. I love it. It made me feel like an idiot in several occasions, but it also made me realize things about myself, and I feel like even if you disagree with the overall message, although I think the message itself applies broadly enough to some, you know, that you know, regardless of whether you're a more secularly minded person like myself or a more religiously minded person like myself, you know, regardless of where you stand and how you deal with these existential dilemmas, you know, there's something of substance, there's something of quality, something positive, I'd say, to take away from the game as a whole. And I feel like the message can apply broadly enough to so many people. So, thank you for listening. If you've actually made it through this whole 20-minute video of some idiot trying to fucking piece together his thoughts on such a brilliant adventure, such a brilliant game, I hope you did enjoy this video, and I hope you check out the game. Please do. Thank you for listening. That's all I have to say. Take care.